I'm Mills. Let me share a little about how I got here. I started my financial journey fall of 2014 when I found myself with only $1.50 to my name. So clearly, I understand the frustration around money mismanagement, struggling with where to start, and the courage it takes to take ownership of your finances. Now I'm a financial coach, speaker, author, and the founder and owner of Mills Knows Bills, where I have the opportunity to teach individuals and businesses how to manage and master their money within 90 days. On this podcast, I will teach you how to stop living paycheck to paycheck, how to pay off your debt twice as fast, and how to reach your financial goals. This podcast is meant to make managing your finances accessible. So if you find that your finances are controlling you, or you simply have no idea where to start, this is the place for you. Click the subscribe button and turn on your notifications to make sure you don't miss out on any new content. I appreciate you tuning in. Let's dive into today's topic.
Today, I really wanted to talk to you all about how to master your money without stress, anxiety, or fear. As business owners or variable income earners, it's really difficult for us to make the most of our finances because we don't know what we can consistently count on in terms of income each month. One month, we might have a huge lump sum, think that it's our new norm in terms of revenue, find that money quickly running out. We leverage our credit cards to make ends meet. We're not feeling happy about where we're at in our business. We're feeling stressed. We're feeling anxious. We're fearful. We don't want to look at our bank statements. And what that ends up happening is it gets in our head. We're not able to just move forward in our business or focus on why we started our business in the first place. And also, it holds us back from being able to plan for our financial future and actually get financially organized. So I'm going to talk to you all today about how to get organized and what that looks like and why it's important. Before we get started, I'll tell you all a little bit about myself and the company that I created. We'll talk about what mastering your money can look like, how you can achieve that through practical budgeting. We're going to break that bad boy down into 3 easy steps, and then I'm going to give you all some next steps for today. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Mills Bender. Yes, Mills. No, that's not my given name, but it's what everybody calls me. I'm the founder and owner of Mills Knows Bills, where we're a team of financial coaches. We work with variable income earners to get financially organized and go from confused to confident in their finances within 90 days. So I am so much into finance. I am that nerd who uses Excel spreadsheets for everything, that I actually decided to make a business out of it. And it's awesome because I get to empower others, see them get their financial successes, and then they get to go on their merry way. Personally, a little bit about me. If you hear me breathing heavy or taking a moment to deep breathe, it's because I'm growing a human. I'm an incubator right now. I'm about 7 months pregnant with my first child. No, we don't know what the baby will be. We're actually waiting for birth, but sometimes baby likes to move and push on my lungs. I also am a fur mama. I have a almost 2-year-old golden doodle named Bear, who we lovingly call Bear Sif when he's in trouble, but he's funny. I've been married for about 5 years. I have lots of nieces and nephews, or kids with return policies, as I like to call them. And so now I get to have my very own first without a return policy. I love showing how I cook and recipes and whatnot on Instagram. So if you want to connect, I'm happy to do that as well. It's not just money over here. So what does it mean to you to master your money? Often when I ask this question, I get a whole array of responses. I get things like being able to buy a home for the first time, being able to send my kid to college, being able to be debt-free, being able to look at my bank statements without crying. The responses range through so many different things. But really, regardless of what your response is, it will fall within one of these 3 categories. The first one is being able to make the most of your income, or stated otherwise, stop living paycheck to paycheck. How many of us feel like we're making this money, but it's never enough? No matter how much we make, it's never enough. So being able to make the most of your income / being able to stop living paycheck to paycheck. The second bucket is being able to pay off your debt up to 2 times faster. A lot of us, especially those that make a variable income, struggle with debt because we don't know how to manage our fluctuating income, and we find ourselves leveraging and using credit cards at the end of the month when we find ourselves low on cash. And lastly, being able to reach financial goals, whether it's putting your kid through school, retiring, buying a home, no matter what. That's kind of the catch-all for mastering your money. And out of these three categories, the one that I often get the most pushback on is making the most of your income or no longer living paycheck to paycheck. Because a lot of people think that that response is a not making enough money problem, when most of the time it's a not using your money wisely problem. And I'll give you an example. When I first started my business, I sat down with a gentleman who easily brings in $500,000 a year. This isn't business revenue. This is income, $500,000. Okay. And we're sitting down and we're talking. And like many others, I was thinking to myself, like, why is this guy talking to me? He doesn't need me. He's making $500,000 in income over here, profit. Turned out he was consistently overdrafting on his bank account by $20,000 each month. He's living off of $750,000 when he's only making $500,000. So regardless of where you stand in your financial journey, regardless of how much money you make or don't make, regardless of how much debt you do or don't have, or where you stand with your financial goals, this is something that a lot of us still struggle with. So if you're finding yourself in a situation where you're struggling financially and you're talking to yourself saying, but you shouldn't be. We weren't taught this in school, or at least most of us weren't. But that's what I'm here to talk with you about today, is give you those next steps on how you can actually master your money. Honestly, it all boils down to practical budgeting. And notice how I didn't just say budgeting, because a lot of people will hear that word and cringe. I know I did when I first heard it. I thought rice and beans for breakfast, lunch, and dinner every day, barely doing anything for fun. No, thank you. No, thank you. So I like to use the analogy of practical budgeting similar to a belt. Okay. When you first put on a new belt, you got to find that perfect loop, right? Maybe sometimes you put it on and it's a little too tight. It's too snug. If you were to leave it there for too long, right? And it's going to take a long time, right? But if you were to leave it there for too long, at one point that belt buckle might pop and your pants fall down and it's not doing its job. And it's painful. On the other hand, if you put that belt buckle on and it's a little too loose, you got too much wiggle room in there. Your pants are still going to fall down. It's still not doing its job. You need to find the perfect belt loop that fits your body just snug enough to where your pants stay up, but you can still breathe. So what do I mean by that? You need to have the perfect budget that mirrors your personality, your goals, your business. So it's just snug enough for you to have some freedom in your present day, but not so much freedom that you're forgoing your financial future. Okay. And the other part about budgeting that a lot of people get so fixated on is, well, I found my perfect belt loop. It has to be the perfect belt loop forever. But as you all know, our income changes, our expenses change, things in life come up, just as our bodies change, right? Like right now, there's no way I'm fitting my pants I fit 7 months ago. I don't even wear a belt at this point. I got those stretchy pants right now. It's okay for your budget to change too, as long as it is adjusting to your perfect belt loop based off of where you're at right now. So now that we've gotten that out of the way, and you're not going to hear me preach to the choir about how everybody needs to budget and be restrictive, let's talk about why practical budgeting is so important. First and foremost, it allows you to be intentional with your spending. Shortly after I started Mills Knows Bills, one of my first clients I was sitting down with was spending $900 a month on dining out, plus $400 a month on groceries. Lived by himself, got a W-2 income. He actually wasn't a business owner, so kind of was outside the box of who I work with now. But was spending $1,300 a month on food. $1,300. And I sat down and I said, do you want to be spending $900 a month on dining out? Is there something else that maybe is another priority for you? And it turned out that he had been struggling with trying to buy a house for the longest time. Not because he couldn't afford the monthly payment, but because he didn't have the down payment. So over 5 months of working together, we improved his credit score, paid off debt, removed a mortgage that he no longer needed to be on. He was a co-signer and they were hurting his credit score, and set aside enough money for a down payment where he was able to purchase a home, and now he's getting rental income. But see, he went from $1,300 a month down to $400 a month between meal plans and dining out a little bit still. Not because I said he needed to, but because he identified it himself. So again, practical budgeting allows you to be intentional with where your money is going. And it's not that you can't afford something, it's just that it's not a priority for you. All in all, the point of intentional spending is also a mindset shift. It's not just a monetary shift. It's saying to yourself, yeah, I can continue spending $1,300 a month on food, or I can take $900 of that and put it towards a house, which is really my priority. If you get paid $5,000 a month, you could spend all $5,000 on Starbucks. I don't care. No one cares, right? No one's stopping you. But the point is, you want to have a roof over your head. It's important to you. You want to have clothes on your back. You want to have other food in your belly besides their delicious frappuccinos, right? Like there are other things that are important to you. So as you're starting the budgeting process and you have that first inkling of, I can't afford this, it's not that you can't afford it. It's just that it's not worth it to you right now. You're making space for something else and you can rework that in the future.
For those of you following our podcast, thank you. When we first decided to create a podcast a few months ago, it seemed daunting to say the least. Then we discovered Social Chameleon. They helped us get launched, created our trailer, edit our intros and outros and the audio for each episode, created the cover art for the show, write our episode show notes, and even do all of the distribution. This has allowed us to make the show available to you on the most popular podcast apps. So this is just a quick shout out to say thanks to Social Chameleon. Mills Knows Bills can focus on what we do and they handle the rest. With Social Chameleon, it's podcasting done for you. Feel free to check them out at socialchameleon.us.
The other point of practical budgeting is that it allows you to set and reach your financial goals. So for the client that was struggling with buying a house, he didn't know how to take such a large lump sum. I think it was around $24,000 was what he wanted, and work that into his budget. So we said, let's give yourself a timeline, right? And you could do the same thing. If you want to buy that house within 2 years, can you afford to set aside $1,000 a month? If yes, great. If you can afford to do a little bit more, you just shortened your timeline. If you can't, there's a couple things you get to do. You get to change the purchase price. You get to give yourself more time. You get to find more income. You get to balance it out however you want. But a lot of people don't reach their financial goals because they don't know how to set them and work backwards and put them in their budget. And then lastly, practical budgeting allows you to understand your finances. This is something that I see a lot of my clients struggle with. Most are petrified of looking at their bank statements, their credit card statements, all of it, because it's foreign to them. And they think that there's going to be something horrible on there. 9 times out of 10, it's worse in our own head. And being able to just see what you have in front of you and what you have to work with gives you the opportunity to do something about your situation. And having a budget allows you to say, well, if I just do this in my business, then it allows me to do that in my personal life. I'll be the first to say that budgeting itself is not glamorous. I've been budgeting for years. And although I'm an Excel nerd, the actual act of sitting down and saying, I'm going to do my budget, let's be honest, it's not glamorous, but the results definitely are. Budgeting has allowed me to go from negative 30,000 net worth to almost 400,000 net worth in a few short years. It's allowed me to retire at the age of 65 with $11 million without ever putting another dime in there. It's allowed me to become debt-free. It's allowed me to start my business. It's allowed me to provide jobs for other people. It's allowed me to take the trip of my dreams. It's allowed me to start a family, right? Budgeting is not glamorous, but the results are. And that's why it's important for you to understand why you want to do this in the first place. What are the goals you're trying to achieve? There are 2 different ways that you can approach your money management: fixed income versus variable income. managing a budget and managing finances is more difficult for somebody who makes variable or fluctuating income because they don't know what they can count on each month. Whereas a fixed income earner maybe gets $5,000 a month consistently. They know exactly where they can put that money. So we're going to work backwards, and we're actually going to establish an easier way to manage that variability. There's 3 main steps to setting a budget. Number 1, you have to identify your mandatories. Number 2, identify your extras. And then lastly, automate that bad boy as much as you possibly can. Work smarter, not harder, right? So for the fixed income earner, they would normally start with their income, right? These are the 4 main components of your mandatories for a budget: income, taxes, living expenses, and debt expenses. But as we just talked about, we don't know what we can count on in terms of income each month, and therefore we don't know what we owe in taxes as a result of that income. So we're going to stick a pin in income and taxes. All right. First thing I want you all to do is make a list of all of your mandatory living and debt expenses. Living expenses include things like rent, food, clothing, gas, all of it. And don't just think of those monthly expenses, think of those annual ones as well. If you have a business license that you need to renew each year and it's $120, set aside $10 a month. Domains, website hosting, CRMs, all of it. And what I would encourage you to do for the first time you're doing it, just list it all in one sheet. But once you feel like you have everything written down, you can separate it and say, these are my personal expenses and these are my business expenses. For debt expenses, these are going to be your car loans, car leases, mortgage payment, credit cards. And specifically for credit cards, it's going to be the monthly payment that you make. If you're using a credit card, but then paying it off in full each month, you're not carrying a balance. That's not considered a debt expense. That's just where your living expenses are housed until you pay it off. So list out all of your living and debt expenses. Once you have that, you're going to calculate your total. And what this total is going to give you your base goal. Let's just say all of your expenses, all of your mandatories equate to $2,000 a month. Now you know that you need to generate $2,000 a month in your business, plus an additional 25 to 30% for taxes. And that is the bare minimum that you need to generate to cover all of your minimum expenses. As we talked about earlier, though, there's more to life than just the bare minimums. Now you're going to make another list of all your extras, all of your savings goals, your spending, investing, extraneous expenses like Hulu, Netflix, those subscriptions that you signed up for but forgot about, all of those things on a monthly basis. If you want to have $6,000 set aside in savings within a year, that's $500 a month. Put it in there. Again, our income is not capped. So list it all out. Don't be afraid of it. And then calculate the total, including the mandatories. And let's say that that's $5,000 a month. Include that 25 to 30%. That is now your stretch goal. That's what you truly want to be generating in your business each and every month. And once you have this dollar amount, you get to do something that's really cool. You don't just say, I need to generate $5,000. You say, how many clients do I need to close? Is it 1, 2, 10? What's your closing rate? So how many conversations do you need to have? See, now you get to start being strategic in how you spend your time. Most of the issues that my clients deal with financially stem from lack of financial organization and then not charging enough. They don't value themselves. And that's really hard, especially if you're in a service-based industry. Let's take my business model, for example. If I work with a client one-on-one, that's a much better price point for me than somebody who signs up for my subscription-based content. So I can either close 1 of these a month or 1,000 of these a month. So where am I going to spend my time? I'm going to spend it over here. You get to be strategic. Strategic with your networking, your conversations, who you look for, and how you are earning your money so that way you can live the life that you want. Once you find a good flow and a good rhythm, you can start automating your budget as much as possible. Direct deposit is really meant for those that make a fixed income. But if you happen to pay yourself, if you're an S corp, or if you just pay yourself a paycheck consistently, you can take a portion of that paycheck and have it split into multiple bank accounts before it even hits your checking account. So if you want to set aside $50 a week into your savings, have it come directly out of your paycheck. If you don't get a paycheck, do the same thing, but with automatic account transfers. Set it up. Don't even think about it. I don't even know how much my husband and I save anymore because I set it up a long time ago and I just forget about it. And then if anything changes in our income, then I go in and I update it. But it's going. And when I randomly check into the bank accounts, say, oh, we have this amount in here. Okay. Didn't know. I check in on it once every 3 weeks now, 4 weeks. Set it and forget it. And then lastly, I'm sure some of you have heard about cash envelopes. I am a take it with a grain of salt type person with cash envelopes, and I'll tell you why. If you have all of your money sitting in cash, that's a huge liability if you lose those envelopes or if they get stolen. Also, it's not doing anything for you in terms of interest. It's just sitting in cash. So if you're saving for something and you're saving for it in cash and inflation is about 9% like it is this year, you're losing 9% of your purchasing power. Cash envelopes are really great for what I call your financial kryptonites. So your weakness. If dining out is your biggest spending weakness and you only want to spend $200 a month on dining out, take $200 in cash, put it in that envelope, and anytime you dine out, use the cash from that envelope. That way you have a visual, kind of think of it as training wheels to make sure that you're not overspending in that category so you can stick to your other goals. Once you feel like you can take those training wheels off and no longer use the cash envelope, go for it. That's fine. You see, there's so many different ways that you can automate. If most of you have Quickbooks or Intuit has linked with Green Dot Bank to provide what's called a Quickbooks checking account. You can open it directly through your login, and they give you 1% on all the money that's in that account. And you can actually open up virtual envelopes within that one account. So if you wanted to have a taxes envelope or an annual expenses or whatever it may be, you can actually save for it within that account directly without managing multiple accounts. It's just one with different buckets. On the personal side, I really like Ally Financial. They have an online savings account, and I think they just increased their rate. It was 0.5%, and then I saw them go to 0.9, and I want to say they're now 1.25%. Don't quote me on the 1.25, but it's greater than what typical financial institutions provide. Most of them give you 0.01%. And Ally Financial operates very similar, where you have one savings account, one core account, but then they call them buckets. And you can have up to 10 different buckets in Ally Financial. So you can have an emergency fund, a house down payment, a vacations, clothing, whatever. So it gives you the opportunity to put money aside for those random or one-off expenses that come up throughout the year, but you're still wanting to put that money somewhere so you don't spend it elsewhere. So my question for you is, what if you could achieve your version of financial freedom within 90 days? What would life look like to you? If you sat down and you dedicated yourself to implementing a new plan, you now have new habits. How would your life look different 1 year from now? 90 days may sound like a lot, may sound like nothing. The point is consistently doing something for 90 days allows you to drastically change your life. If you want to download my free budget setting tool, you absolutely can. You can get it from my website, millsknowsbills.com/resources. And it lists out everything that we talked about today in an Excel format. You can fill it in. It will automatically calculate some totals for you. If you have questions while filling it out, I'm more than happy to reach out to me. I want you to get that clarity. If anybody wants to talk more with me about how I partner with my clients or how I help them, I'm not trying to sell you on anything. I truly love helping people. And if this helps you get to your goals, let's go for it. You can reach me at mills@millsknowsbills.com. You can follow me on Instagram. That's where I put all my cooking and my stories and my baby bump dates, as well as financial tips. I also have a YouTube channel where I post weekly videos, and then LinkedIn. Thank you, everybody. Have a good one.
Thank you so much for listening and allowing me to be part of your financial journey. As a thank you for tuning in, I'm offering you first access to special tools and information. Simply subscribe to my newsletter found on my website at millsknowsbills.com, where you can find my free budget setting tool, workshops, and so much more. You can also connect with me on social. I have Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and Pinterest. All links are available in the show notes. I appreciate you tuning in and spreading the love. Thank you for all the positive comments on social, and you know I love seeing your 5-star reviews as well. Always remember, mo money, no problems. I'll see you next time.